Bear down, Bears fans. Micah Parsons is talking Caleb Williams, and that is a big, big deal. Also, we're going to do the offseason in review, and we're going to look at every transaction and everything that's happened so far in this offseason as we get ready for this upcoming season. Also, reports are coming out. Aaron Rodgers is a cancer to the Jets organization. So if you like this type of content on your way in, make sure you hit the like button. And let's kick this off with the big news. Now, the big news is Micah Parsons jumped in and weighed in on the discussion over Caleb Williams. Micah Parsons began hosting the second season of his podcast, The Edge, with Micah Parsons. One of the topics involved the divisions Parsons thought would be the most competitive in the NFL in 2024. And when mentioning the NFC North as a strong division, the first team Parsons pointed out was the Bears, and the first player he named was Caleb Williams. Now listen, we've been talking about Micah Parsons coming here. Could there be some opportunity? And look, I don't know that there is or is not at this point. Here's what I know. I know that Ryan Poles is always cooking. I know that Caleb Williams came out, made a statement when Micah Parsons was out there. He since deleted the tweet, but this is what Micah Parsons says about Caleb Williams. He says, I think the Bears have made had one of the greatest off seasons and what they've seen from Caleb Williams. I mean, that's a great opening day. I don't care what anybody says, his timing, whatever. It's a great opening day. He does have to do it in the regular season, but he made some amazing throws and he did some amazing things out there. Parsons was referring to Caleb's much anticipated debut in Buffalo against the Bills on August 10, which was the first time that Williams suited up in an NFL game. It's somewhat interesting that Parsons hyped up the Bears, given the viral rumors that there is a potential trade from the Cowboys to the Bears. But of course, this rumor has no merit or verified source of legitimacy. It's provided the Bears with some fun Twitter banter, but Parsons is entering his fourth and final year of his rookie contract. The big question in Dallas is whether the Cowboys will have enough money to pay him after dishing out a massive 4-year, $136 million contract to CeeDee Lamb, and they are now going to have to re-sign Dak Prescott, who is now looking for a mega deal because he's at the end of his contract as well, most likely looking for in the range of $55 million per year to continue to be the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. So there's going to be a lot of hard decisions that Jerry Jones is going to have to make over the next year or so. So we could be looking at Micah Parsons making a move, and I think that Ryan Poles is going to continue to exhaust all options, maybe to make this type of move happen. It would be nice to have another bookend on this defense, but let's be real here. In the event that doesn't pan out, I have no problem with the Bears, with the defense that they currently have. There are a lot of different pieces that are falling into place for the Chicago Bears that look fantastic on paper. And with that being the case, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the Bears offseason in review, and let's kind of kick this off. Now, this article is from Sam Robinson, so we're going to talk about, and I'll give you my take on some of these things about what is going on. First of all, the first thing that happened that we're talking about is extensions and restructured deals. They agreed to a 4-year, $110 million extension with DJ Moore and a 4-year, $76 million extension with Jaylen Johnson. Now, when it comes down to 4 years, $110 million for DJ Moore, that's exactly right. They're going to end up paying a lot of people. It's going to be very interesting to see what they do. But DJ Moore signs a $110 million extension to stay with the Bears for another 4 years after this contract that he's already in expires. So the DJ Moore is going to be locked in here until he's 32 years old, which, by the way, same age as Keenan Allen, who is here for a rental, if you will, on 1 season at a pretty expensive price. But they also completed a 4-year extension with Jaylen Johnson. Jaylen Johnson, much younger, will be 28, I think, when his contract is up after this extension that they've done, which allows him to go out and get one of those mega deals. So I think that really Jaylen Johnson basically gave the Chicago Bears a home team discount. When you look at the numbers for Jaylen Johnson, under $20 million a year for a position that at its highest level is paying about 23 to 25 million, 27 million, I think in one instance, Sauce Gardner, maybe $27 million a year, something like that. Pretty big number. So I think he did the Bears a favor when he set this up. So Moore said he did not shoot for Justin Jefferson level payday, but he still did pretty well. So and again, Jaylen Johnson is just looking for that opportunity to get that big deal at the end. And to me, this means this is actually a very good thing if you're one of these people who are looking for reasons to like or not like Jaylen Johnson. To me, this gives you a reason to love Jaylen Johnson, because now, in order for him to get the type of money that he thinks that he deserves, he's decided, hey, guess what? I'm going to play through this contract. I'm going to take a discount, home team discount, and then I'm going to go out there and I'm going to get that big, big money contract. So he's going to be motivated to perform at a high level for the next 4 years. So I think this is a really good opportunity for the Bears, not for Jaylen Johnson. Jaylen is taking a risk here. So shout out to Jaylen Johnson for taking that risk, with the end result being, if it plays out the right way, that he gets a big, big, big money contract coming up in 4 years. Also, let's talk about trades. What happened over the course of this season? They acquired a conditional 2025 sixth round pick from the Steelers in exchange for quarterback Justin Fields. And look, we can write stories about Justin Fields, and I thought that he was great for this team. I think that Justin Fields was a fantastic athlete. As a quarterback goes, however, there was a lot to be lacking. He was the slowest person to process plays in the league, and that affected him. And I think that affected eventually the team as well. It did not end very well overall when we break it down. So, I'm sorry that it didn't work out, as a matter of fact. And to be fair here, guys, I think it should be pointed out, in the event that Caleb Williams was not the first overall pick, or we didn't have the number 1 overall pick, Justin Fields would still be our quarterback. So I don't want to denigrate him and just say that there were some problems with his game, and leave it at that. Now, then the Bears sent the Chargers the number 110 pick and got Keenan Allen and his $23 million contract. And hopefully he's willing to take some kind of discount in order to continue playing for the team. I don't know that to be the case, though. However, DJ Moore let it leak that perhaps there is some room there to make some kind of move at some point. Then we landed defensive end Darrell Taylor from the Seahawks. And that just happened a couple of days ago, just in time for the season. And there was also a statement from Matt Eberflus. So if you guys are curious about that, one of the things that he said was, this gives us a rotational player who, let's just say that DeMarcus Walker will start at the defensive end position, but DeMarcus Walker is a big guy. He's probably better suited to one of those physical sort of tackle positions. Now, you drop Andrew Billing, or you drop Javon Dexter out of the lineup in obvious pass plays. Andrew Billing's a great run stopper, so I think it would be Andrew and not Javon, but let's just say either one of those, but Andrew Billings most likely. You drop Andrew Billings, take him out of the lineup on obvious pass plays. You drop DeMarcus Walker into the inside of the line at the tackle position, and then you bring in Darrell Taylor or Austin Booker on the edge, and now you have a really solid pass rushing defense, at least in my opinion. Are they elite? Montez Sweat, yes. Austin Booker might be at some point, but right now, not exactly. So this provides a little more flexibility and a few more options. Remember, we brought in some other players, which we'll get into, and I think that that's done a lot to kind of shore up and fix this defense in many different ways. I Am Kingdom, by the way, claws up, my man. I think that's a really cool thing that Caleb Williams and this rookie crew are bringing around. What about the two awesome corners Dallas has? They have to pay them. They're going to have to pay them. DJ, best wide receiver contract in the NFL. JJ's up there too. Well, you know what? Look, DJ got a good deal. I'm just going to say that. DJ got a good deal. He didn't get CeeDee Lamb money. He didn't get Justin Jefferson money, but he also said, I wasn't looking for it. And that's a great thing. when you got a guy who's dedicated, and look, guys, I want to say this. I predicted since the beginning of this that the Bears are going to be 13-4 in 2024. Could that happen? Yes. Will it happen? Probably not. I'm pie in the sky moon boy on this because I like what I see out of this team. I like what Matt Eberflus is doing. I like what Ryan Poles is doing. I like what Eric Washington is doing with the defense. They're dialing up blitzes that we have not seen on this team in a very long time. They're doing a lot of great things over here. So I think, in my opinion, everybody should be pretty excited. Also, we obtained offensive lineman Ryan Bates, who most probably is the replacement for Nate Davis at some point. I want to say that I think that might be one of the problems. And that's exactly right. They already ran that in the preseason because that's what they were looking for, but they weren't looking for it to be a good opportunity to do until they made this move with Darrell Taylor. Now that move in is a whole lot easier because now, and by the way, it was about pressure and it's about Austin Booker is not available for every play. He's still learning and he's going to have to get acclimated to everything. So having some stallions, if you will, to keep running this race. And by the way, look, here's the thing. If you don't have a solid rotation, when it gets to the fourth quarter, you're exhausted. You're worn out. If you can't control the ball, you get exhausted. You get worn out on defense. So, the offensive team and the defensive team, they have to work together to make sure that everybody is well rested so that everybody can play this game at a high level through the entire game. That's going to come down to coaching and management and the ability to move people into the right positions to give them the opportunity. And here's the cool part. The cool part is DeMarcus Walker is one of those guys with a motor. Does it always pay off? No, but he is he's a motor guy. Gervon Dexter looking like that with the weight loss that he's gone through. Montez Sweat always seems to be that guy. So now we're getting these people. They're not going to get worn out in the fourth quarter or as worn out as they would previously with a really weak set of backups where you're feeling pressed by your coaching staff to run these people late into the game. If you have Darrell Taylor being able to sub in, if you have Austin Booker and you're not having a tremendous drop off at your edge position, then you're going to be strong going into the fourth quarter and you're going to be harassing some quarterbacks as you have some tired offensive tackles not able to control the pass rush. So I think this is a great thing for this team. Is the more depth you have, the better off you're going to be. So, and then finally, we acquired defensive tackle Chris Williams for a 2025 seventh rounder from the Browns for a 2025 sixth. Now, here's the thing. I don't like this as much as other people might. And the reason that I don't like it is because I would like to have somebody with some experience. And we didn't get that. Chris Williams is a prospect, if anything. Okay. He is not the guy that's going to, he's not a superstar. Okay, I should say it that way. That does not mean he's not going to be good or couldn't be good, but he hasn't had an opportunity yet and very limited playing time in the NFL. So with that being the case, where does that leave us at that defensive tackle position? Well, here's the thing. He's replacing on the roster right now Zach Pickens, who is still injured. And that being the case, Zach Pickens is the same thing. He's a prospect. So when I settle on this, I'm like, you know what? We're taking a guy who has one more year of experience and we're replacing a guy with less experience. So this might not work out as a bad thing and might, in fact, long-term be a better thing because what we have now is a potential new young stud in this lineup. So this could potentially be a pretty big opportunity. So, but we're going to have to see it's going to have to translate to on the field. You know what I mean? Mark says, I honestly think we have enough at edge to rotate at least 3 solid young guys. The biggest thing will be interior line depth and how much push they can get up front. And that's why, by the way, this is one of the reasons why I like what they're doing with DeMarcus Walker. Yesterday, if you guys didn't watch, I suggest you go back and watch. It was only 20 minutes long. I showed you some video of DeMarcus Walker being a disruptive force at the defensive tackle position. So this guy has a motor. He gets after the quarterback. The edge is just clearly not not his natural position. So if that's the case, then it's better to have him move to the inside. And the more we can get him on the inside for obvious pass rush situations, I think the better off he's going to feel. And by the way, I think this is also speaking to Eric Washington and Matt Eberflus kind of getting together and saying, hey, how can we make this team better? What's the best thing that we can do to make this team excel and get to that next level? And that's what I think that they're doing right now. And I think that is incredible, right? This is why Dom Robb made the team. He'll be in the defensive tackle rotation. I thought he was going to be on the practice squad. Or is that Colin Johnson? Colin Johnson was the one that was going to be in the practice squad. I don't even know. Look, I think they've made a few mistakes. I'll be honest with you. I do think that the Bears have made a few mistakes on some of the people. Dominic Robinson, probably not as good. There are a few people there that I think we could have been better off doing. But you know what? The Bears were creative in some of the moves. Like Kari Blasingame being gone, I was like, oh my God, it's not the end of an era, but he's one of the only fullbacks in the league. And then next thing you know, Patrick Skeels goes on injured reserve at the 53-man roster. So now you're down to 52, and they immediately sign Kari Blasingame back. So I think that the situation with Dominique Robinson is this. I think that they drafted him. They still see something in him. They know that he has potential, and they're relying at this point on Eric Washington to tap into that potential and turn him into something that so far he has not been. So fingers crossed, because look, if these guys, and I want to say, I think, Eric Washington, if he sees it, and Matt Eberflus sees it, and Ryan Poles sees it, then we're missing it somehow, right? At least that's what we should be thinking. We have to trust in their process, and they see it. Maybe we'll see it on the field. You know what I mean? And by the way, I do want to say this. Dominique Robinson had a pretty good preseason. There are a lot of people out here that we slept on, or that we've slept on so far, that had really good preseasons. I mean, who saw Daniel Hardy coming? You know what I mean? Like, there are very few people that have seen some of the play. And by the way, who saw Velus Jones starting to put it together at running back? And look, this is a raw talent sort of thing. We haven't seen Velus Jones do anything remarkable at any point that we would say, oh yeah, I'm comfortable with this guy. A lot of flubs, a lot of drops, a lot of problems. But guess what? He gets into that final preseason game, and he starts looking like a real running back, making cuts and using his natural athleticism. They put him in a good position, and he makes the roster. And again, just like Dominic Robinson, that's another guy that I think they really just want to make something out of, because they see the talent. They just haven't been able to apply it to the field. You know what I mean? That's really the thing. But let's move on from trades, and let's talk about free agency additions, because the first thing that happened was they brought in DeAndre Swift for 3 years, $24 million. Now, that did push Khalil Herbert down a little bit in the lineup, but I do like the signing of DeAndre Swift. Some people will, some people like it, some people won't. Here's the thing. The guy catches out of the backfield, and the guy runs hard. Now, can he stay healthy is going to be a question that we're going to have to answer. I don't know that. We're going to have to see the game play out. And he's really only got one season. However, he got $8 million over 3 years, $14 million guaranteed. We're not really out too much in case DeAndre Swift. I don't have a problem with this signing. Kevin Byard, we get 2 years, $15 million, $7.5 million per year. This is a big upgrade, by the way, at the safety position, even though Kevin Byard a little bit older, over Eddie Jackson. Eddie Jackson's performance has not been good for a long time. Since he got that big money contract, he was out. So Kevin Byard is an upgrade, and he's a less expensive upgrade at that position. So it was a good move overall. And I say that knowing that I feel bad talking bad about Eddie Jackson. So just let me say that. Gerald Everett comes in as a tight end, 2 years, $12 million. A lot of people talking about Gerald Everett might be the number one tight end. I don't see that. I don't see that out of it. However, he got a lot of playing time with first team in preseason. People said, maybe this guy's going to supplant Cole Kmet. It was not. Cole Kmet is the number one tight end. Gerald Everett, still a good guy to have on your squad. Sure-handed, good blocker, did everything right. So then you have Coleman Shelton coming in on a 1 year, $3 million contract. Let's see what he looks like. This could be the center. This could be the pure center, but he is also a natural guard. So We have some options at guard if Tevin Jenkins goes down. And by the way, there's a very interesting thing that they did with this line, which we might get into a little bit later on. But let's just say it right now. Doug Kramer, a natural center, is on the roster still. So we have plenty of options at center. We have Doug Kramer, you have Coleman Shelton, you have Ryan Bates. Your center position is locked in, I want to say. However, you were also given Tevin Jenkins gets injured a lot. Nate Davis sometimes looks like he doesn't want to play. So now you've got Coleman Shelton and Ryan Bates pressing those guys. And Matt Pryor has moved inside to guard. So you've got some people that are in place that might just be testing these guys. So I think this really looks good. I think this really looks good overall for this offensive line. Of course, we're going to have to see the product on the field, but it feels better so far. Then you bring in Jonathan Owens and Simone Biles and her Green Bay Packers jacket for a 2-year, $3.8 million deal. A decent deal for a backup. You're getting about $1 million, $1.5 million a year, $2 million a year. That's a pretty good deal. I think that's especially somebody. He is a playmaker, and he did have a great preseason. So very good thing there. And then you bring in Jacob Martin, defensive end on a 1-year contract. And look, I liked Jacob Martin. You know what I mean? Like he had a good preseason. DeAndre Carter, 1-year, $1.2 million deal. Didn't have as great a preseason as some of the other guys, but he did make the roster. We do have some veteran depth at that position. Was at the expense of, say, Colin Johnson, but Colin Johnson hasn't shown anything in a long time. Did make the practice squad. John Jackson III came out, got really one good opportunity and fumbled the ball, and didn't look the part. So didn't quite make it. Matt Pryor came in, offensive line, $1.18 million, 1-year contract. Again, these guys are on trial basis, right? Coleman Shelton, Jacob Martin, DeAndre Carter, Matt Pryor, they're all on 1-year deals to see what they got. And what they've got so far has been really good. Matt Pryor has looked the part so far. Again, moving into the replacing Nate Davis as a 2 and a 3. So, good opportunity. And Scott Daly, long snapper on the practice squad. He'll be activated for games until Patrick Scales is finished. Patrick Scales, by the way, undergoing surgery. So those are the free agency additions. Then you have the re-signing, which were Patrick Scales to a 1-year, $1.38 million contract. Hopefully he'll live up to that contract. And then Mercedes Lewis. And by the way, it should be noted, look at this, drafted in the same class as Hall of Famer Devin Hester. Mercedes Lewis was in the same class as Devin Hester. Mercedes Lewis still out here playing football. That is unbelievable. And by the way, there were some people upset with Mercedes Lewis coming back and Stephen Carlson being let go. Stephen Carlson is, by the way, on the practice squad, so he was not technically, he was let go, but technically we were able to re-sign him to the practice squad. And he has looked like a really good run blocker and pass catcher. So I think that is our long-term replacement for Mercedes Lewis. But look, you brought Mercedes Lewis back. He's 40 years old. You brought him back for a reason. This guy's a great run blocker. We want to do this. He's back in Chicago despite the Bears changing offensive staffs. He will be tasked with helping Chicago's offensive line clear space for DeAndre Swift. This guy is one of the best run blocking tight ends in football for a lot of years. So use the man while he's still out there with an opportunity. Now let's talk about who did we lose last year? Dan Feeney on the offensive line. And by the way, I'm going to just say this about Dan Feeney. I think he played super hard. I think that guy played really hard, just didn't work out. He was learning that center position. He was put out of position, and he was doing his best. But Cody Whitehair was just not. Obviously there was a decline in a lot of these players, but Dan Feeney I think played pretty hard. Deonta Foreman, loved what I saw from him. That guy runs super hard. Trenton Gill was released. Torrey Taylor came in. So Rasheem Green at defensive end was never a major contributor. Eddie Jackson, again, we gave him a lot of money. He ended up kind of falling apart. Justin Jones, don't like losing Justin Jones, but don't mind Gervon Dexter getting that opportunity. Justin Jones was a big body and again contributed a lot to us being the number 1 rushing defense last year. Then you have Darnell Mooney. Everybody wanted to see something great from Darnell Mooney. Just didn't work out. We couldn't get him the ball. He was out of position, I want to say, as a Z receiver instead of a slot receiver. It just didn't work out. Yannick Ngakoue at defensive end. This was a good guy and Broski's saying that Justin Jones was average at best. Sure, he was, but it was the number one. You can say people are average at best, but if you're saying they're average at best and they're the part of the number one rushing defense and they're the starter on the defensive line that's stopping the run, then I think you're underselling what that means. I think Justin Jones was a good player. And by the way, some of that was scheme, of course, but this is the number one rushing defense. So at least give him his props for being able to stop the run. So don't be mad at him. He took his money and he got out and got paid. But anyway, Darnell Mooney just never really clicked. Yannick Ngakoue, we hoped he had averaging 9.5 sacks, didn't come in and give us 9.5 sacks, got injured when it really looked like he was starting to make a move. And I kept telling you guys, I think that Yannick Ngakoue would be one of those guys that we would bring back, but he wanted $8 million. That was just too prohibitive. He's not worth $8 million for the level of performance that he had last year. So there was just no way for him to reasonably come back unless he was coming back under a veteran minimum. And guess what? He's still not signed. So there's a possibility that he ends up just coming back at some point. You know what I mean? Like there's just a possibility. Ngakoue thinks he wanted, I think it was $10 million, but I think that he wants that kind of money again, and the Bears just not going to pay him that kind of money. Lucas Patrick was horrible. Just like Dan Feeney, he played hard. He just wasn't very good. So it was good that move happened. Nathan Peterman, don't really have much to say about him. He didn't get much playing time. Equinemius St. Brown, and Trent Taylor both. Let's just put them together and say that is one of the most underachieving wide receiver cores in all of football last year. So wishing them well on their way. Robert Tonyan had been a good player for the Green Bay Packers a few years before, had a good season. I think he had like 8 touchdowns in one season, like a really good player. But he dropped a really important pass from Justin Fields. Just a testament to what was wrong with the Bears last season. Ended up dropping an easy touchdown with that kind of, like, in my opinion, and you know, anything can happen in an NFL game, but in my opinion, he dropped the play that won us the Cleveland Browns game, you know. So wishing him well, but glad he's gone, because I really like Cole Kmet a whole lot better. I like Gerald Everett on the team a whole lot better. And I like having Mercedes Lewis back. Steven Carlson, I hope he comes, you know, I hope he's the replacement long-term for Mercedes Lewis, which is why he's on that scout team, but we'll see. And then Cody Whitehair, of course, was released. And look, Cody was, he was a star early on and just didn't continue to work out. So wishing them all well. But let's move on now in the draft. This is where the rubber hit the road. Number 1 overall pick from the Panthers, where we got DJ Moore, was Caleb Williams. We got him signed. He's looking the part so far in the preseason. We've seen him in practice struggling. Keenan Allen himself even comes out and say, well, yeah, he's going to struggle. Have you seen the Chicago Bears defense? They're playing lights out right now, which is a great sign, a great sign. And hopefully a testament to how good Caleb Williams actually is and how he will look against lesser defenses, I want to say, than the Chicago Bears, without trying to sound disrespectful to the other ones. And then round 1, number 9 pick, Roma Dunze. Roma Dunze has done nothing in the preseason. He made one catch kind of out of bounds, didn't really have, wasn't really hardcore into it in the preseason. And that was okay. Because what you want to see is him suiting up for games, real games, and playing in those real games. So I think this is a big win. But again, we haven't seen really anything other than, and in practice, by the way, he's been fantastic, and we've seen some big plays from Roma Dunze. So I suspect we're going to be seeing a lot of him over the years. And then Karan Imagaji just came back from injury. Was non-football related injury that he had. He is now practicing with the team. Of course, the final practice, I think is it tomorrow, the final practice before we get ready for the season. But we'll see whether or not he looks the part. This guy is a local kid that we've just really, really like this just felt right. I don't know how else to say that. That's a tackle right there. We're looking for somebody to replace Braxton Jones. Even if Braxton Jones has a good season this season, but not a great season, he's still going to command offensive tackle type money, especially if he has a good season. And that's going to be a little bit more expensive than what he is right now. So bringing Karan in and getting him up to speed actually is paramount for this team at this point. So I hope that he gets some good work in and we get something out of him, because I don't think Braxton Jones is long for the team. In the fourth round, number 122, the biggest stretch in a long time by really any team was taking Tory Taylor in the fourth round at pick number 122. And why is it a stretch? Because he's a punter. Why does it not feel like a stretch? Because this guy is, we've come up with Legatron. We've come up with the crocodile punter. This guy averaged 48 yards per kick in the preseason. That is crazy. Like, this guy has a booming leg. And by the way, consistent 48 yards. It's not like he kicked 170 yards and then a bunch of 30 yards to make it average 48. He had like a 48-yard kick and then another back-to-back 48-yard kick. This guy, to me, looks like the real deal so far. Really, the question is going to be his accuracy and stuff like that. But there were many people jokingly referring to Tory Taylor as the offense for the Iowa Hawkeyes in college last year, and that he was changing the field dramatically for that team. If he continues to do that for the Chicago Bears, then this is a fantastic change. And we'll see. We'll see if they need it. There's going to be moments when we do, but, fingers crossed that maybe we'll see something like that. Number 5 was Austin Booker, and Austin Booker, for many people, has been considered the steal of the draft, with a lot of analysts saying that with one more season and one more performance like he had last season in Kansas, that he would be a first-round selection at edge rusher. So for the Bears to scoop in the 5th round and get him seems like the steal or a steal of the draft. So I would certainly be high on this guy. And I think that from what we've seen so far in the limited sample that we have, he has a motor that will not quit. And this guy gets after the quarterback, and he's got some special moves. He's got a fantastic spin move. He gets his hands up around the face and pushes people out of the way. He's got really good instincts for getting after a quarterback. So I think this is going to end up being a great move. I think this guy is going to be a game changer as he comes up to speed. And by the way, I keep saying as he comes up to speed, or when he's ready for the NFL. I think he's ready now. From what you watch on the field, this guy looks the part of a big-time player. And if we're right, man, oh man, it's going to be a good season. Now, here's some other things that happened over the season. Fired Luke Getsy and brought in Shane Waldron. Shane Waldron, so far, when I look at the scheme that we're running so far, it looks like it's tailored to the team that we are, and not the team that we want it to be, like Luke Getsy and Matt Eberflus did the season before. Also, we hired defensive line coach Eric Washington as defensive coordinator. And by the way, the fact that he's a defensive line coach is why I get so excited with things like DeMarcus Walker being seen to be moving inside, getting some of these opportunities, giving Austin Booker time on the field in order to get acclimated to see what he's got. Matt Eberflus is going to keep the play calling reins and has already said to us, hey, we're going to do a lot more blitzing. And you've seen it in preseason. This Bears team, which does not like to blitz, they like to get pressure with 4-man rushes, which, by the way, was a problem and part of the reason why this team was 25th in pass defended in pass defense last season, despite having what I think is basically an all-star murderer's row of secondary. So this could be one of this could change the dynamic of this team. If you're bringing rushes and you're bringing blitzes from places that you just don't understand, you don't anticipate, that safety blitz that they've been running has been destroying teams. If you've been paying attention to the preseason, there's a safety blitz coming from the right side that just seems to be at this point unstoppable. Now, of course, teams will start to plan for it, and they'll start to defend for it. But for the moment right now, the Chicago Bears team looks like they're doing some surprising things on defense that's going to make it a lot easier for this team to control other offenses. Next up, you had Thomas Brown coming in as offensive coordinator as a pass game. He's coordinating the passing game. So far, the passing game, by the way, can we just point out Tyson Bagent looks like one of the better quarterbacks, at least in the top 30 of the league. So there could be, he could be trade bait or something like that. But I mean, he looked really, really good this preseason, and so did Caleb Williams, by the way. But just different thing. Tyson's been here for a little bit of time. I like the fact I like the look. I don't dislike Braxton Jones, but the consensus here is that he's underperformed and that he's probably not going to be worth $15 million at a tackle position when it comes down to it, because right now you got him in for cheap. He's on a rookie deal. So you only got him, at best a couple $1 million. It's the question of when you have to go, when you have to pay him $15 million for his position. Is he worth it? And the question to that is going to be no, he's probably not. So the question is, can Kieran Emagaji be that guy? And that's what we're hoping for. And if he is, then it saves you the payroll, because you're going to have to sign Keenan Allen. You're going to have to bring in some heavy hitting guys if you really want to make a Super Bowl run, which this team clearly wants to do. If you want to do that, then, you're going to have to make some hard choices, and you're going to have to get your draft picks up to speed, and they're going to have to be major contributors. So then assistant GM Ian Cunningham came from the Commanders GM. Ian Cunningham was named a finalist for the Commanders job, but he signed a Bears extension. Then we offered a 3rd round pick for the Patriots, Matthew Judon. And then we got Tevin Jenkins pursued an extension. We told Tevin Jenkins, by the way, no extensions until after the bye week. The Bears will then discuss with the agents after the bye week. The Bears now want to see, what do we have? Tevin, can you do the job? Ryan Bates is here. Ryan Bates, we know, can do the job. Coleman Shelton is here. Coleman Shelton can do the job, and they won't be as expensive to re-sign as Tevin Jenkins. So right now, Tevin Jenkins is either a man on a mission, or he's a man about to not be in the Chicago Bears lineup. So we will see whether or not he can put it together. Also, Velus Jones was moved to running back. However, when you saw the lineup for the season, Velus Jones was registered as a wide receiver. Doesn't mean he can't play whatever position he wants, but for the purpose of the roster, he was moved back to wide receiver for that purpose. Also, these are the top 10 financial hits that the Bears are taking on the team this year. Montez Sweat, $25 million. Keenan Allen, $23 million. Tremaine Edmonds, $22 million. I like Tremaine Edmonds, by the way, but that just seems like a lot to me for this linebacker position, especially for a guy who was missing tackles at the beginning of the year. Look, TJ Edwards, I think it's a no-brainer here. TJ Edwards vastly outperformed Tremaine Edmonds last season. When Tremaine Edmonds started to get it together, then it was a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more, but again, it was clearly not ready for whatever was happening at the beginning of last season. So I like him, but when you're paying $7 million to TJ Edwards and $22 million to Tremaine Edmonds better be outperforming him. In my opinion, look, it's NFL, it's contracts, it's complicated. I know that, but still, I don't like it. Jaylen Johnson, $13 million. Cole Kmet, $11.6 million. Nate Davis, $11.35 million. At this point, and yes, Edmonds was dealing with an injury early last year, but you can't miss tackles. Like, this is the NFL. Don't miss tackles. Nate Davis, this is probably one of Ryan Pohl's mistakes, or it looks like it so far. He could redeem himself and have a great season, and we'll forget all about last season if he has a great season. But if he doesn't, and he continues to do what he's been doing, then problem. And by the way, his cap hit right now, $12.7 million. At the end of this year, that goes down exponentially. So if he doesn't perform this season, Nate Davis will be gone. And we'll take the cap hit on that one, because we won't have a cap hit coming from Eddie Jackson or Cody Whitehair or anything like that. So just thinking outside the box, Nate Davis, he's got to figure it out this year. DeMarcus Walker, $8.67 million. Look, I think DeMarcus Walker's worth every bit of the $8 million that we're giving him. He's not super expensive. So for that position, the fact that he can move inside to the defensive tackle when needed, I like that. TJ Edwards is a rock star when it comes to tackles. I think he 167 tackles last season. I mean, this guy was all over the field. This guy was he was the Will. He was the great Will Hunting, I guess you should say. TJ Edwards was a megastar last year, and I hope that continues this year. DJ Moore, and by the way, it should be noted, TJ Edwards was injured last year too, but he wasn't missing tackles. That's my point when I say Tremaine Edmonds. I understand, but I don't understand. DJ Moore, $7.2 million. Now that's going to kick up in the next year. And then Caleb Williams, $7.18 million, and that should be consistent for a couple of years. Now, let's get that. Look, this is the team. This is the team that we're taking in. And guys, I'm telling you right now, this is a team right here that could be. And by the way, Adam Johns, I'm going to talk about this in just 1 second here, but Adam Johns was being interviewed by ESPN talking about what he thinks, and they were going game by game, which I'm going to do this weekend, and he came up with 12-5 for the Chicago Bears, and they were like, 12-5, I'm not sure about that. I said 13-4. He gave, as a matter of fact, one of his losses for me, or one of his losses for me was a win. One of his wins for me was a loss. But like, we're looking at the same thing. We're seeing the same product on the field. This is a team that will win double-digit games. This is a team that could compete at the highest level. Let me tell you again what I told you yesterday. There were 6 teams that went plus 60 in the preseason in scoring over the last bunch of years. All 6 of them made the playoffs. 2 of them went to the Super Bowl. So how good are the Chicago Bears? Right now, they're looking like an elite team in the preseason. How this looks when the ones go against the ones, probably not as good. Our backups, I think, are pretty good. I think we built some good depth, and we just hope that translates into wins on the field. We hope that the players perform and the coaches coach the right way to give us those wins. But if everything falls into place, this is a 13-4 team. And I know for a lot of you, you're like, oh, Jesus Christ, that's ridiculous. Yes, it is ridiculous, but it's also possible. And I'm going to go back to last year when this team didn't look very good. This team did not look very good, ended up 7-10. 5 games were decided by a touchdown or less, which means that had we just performed when we needed to perform, win that Cleveland game, Robert Tonyan, Velus Jones, when you drop that stupid pass, there were moments here, 16-13. If Tyson Bagent hadn't thrown that interception at the end of the game and had just performed at the end and just one touchdown, then it was 20-16. There were 5 games. By the way, winning against the Broncos, who were the worst team in the league. Just a couple of different. The ball goes a little bit different. Justin Fields processes a little faster, scores a few more points, and guess what? This team is 12-5, and they sucked instead of 7-10. So this team was so much closer to being really good, and I don't think a lot of people realized how good the pieces on the team actually were because we didn't close those games out. But guess what? If we close, and by the way, 26-14 with 4 minutes left against the Detroit Lions, and we lose that game as well. Those kind of things should not happen under a good team and a motivated team like we apparently have this year. So I'm telling you guys right now, this team is going to be better than anybody thinks. That's just my opinion. And then let's do this one, and let's close this out because this is fantastic. According to insiders, Aaron Rodgers has ruined the culture of the Jets. By the way, is it fair to say that Aaron Rodgers ruined a culture of not going to playoffs and sucking every year? Because that's the Jets, right? Like, we can be honest about that. Since Mark Sanchez, before Mark Sanchez, who's now retired and an analyst, and I think he's been retired for 5 years. So going all the way back, they have sucked the entire time. I don't remember a moment where I've been excited about Jets Give me a break. Anyway, for several years now, Chicago Bears fans have loved anything to do with being able to laugh at quarterback Aaron Rodgers. For lack of a better explanation, when a player as arrogant as Rodgers has dominated your team for the better half of 2 decades, it's hard not to get joy out of his shortcomings. Recently, one NFL agent went on record to talk about how Rodgers has affected the New York Jets over the past year and a half. Rodgers, of course, left the Green Bay Packers in order to supposedly finish his career with the Jets. Since becoming a Jet, Rodgers has been the same old player we were used to in Green Bay. The agent says this: there is complete disarray in New York right now. Look at how they've handled Aaron Rodgers. Has one player had more power on a team than him? He skipped minicamp. They were unable to convert him into a team player. The vibe inside the building has been terrible. And now it says even the Packers fans can agree with the Bears on this one. Towards the end of his stint with Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers was all about Aaron Rodgers. He was no longer about Green Bay. He was all about himself. Over the last 2 years in Green Bay, Packers fans never knew if he was going to show up to offseason activities or whether or not he was even committed to the organization. There was all that talk about his last dance with Davante Adams and, of course, the nonstop contractual questions revolving around the veteran quarterback. Rodgers had historically wanted things done his way only. For example, urging the Packers to bring back an aging Randall Cobb, who was clearly past the point of being a healthy contributor. He even convinced the Jets to sign Randall Cobb along with Alan Lazard. Somehow, some way, Rodgers continues to think of himself higher than the team. This isn't just the opinion of Bears fans, even Packers fans who end up growing tired of his shenanigans. This is an NFL agent clued in on league happenings who came out and said this. Rodgers is going to turn 41 in December. He is a known narcissist, for lack of a better description. It's all about him. It's all about his way or the highway, regardless of how ludicrous everything might seem. So a shout out to Aaron Rodgers for screwing up another team. And guys, to me, look, we just got to beat the Packers this year. We just got to beat the Packers and then start laughing so that Aaron Rodgers says, well, if I were there, we would have won, because that's who he is. And look, I can't take anything away from Aaron Rodgers. The fact is that the guy's probably one of the most accurate quarterbacks that we've ever seen that can hit just ridiculous. You know, we were unfortunate to have this guy coming in right after Brett Favre. I mean, that was unfortunate for the Chicago Bears for a lot of years, but it can't happen to a worse prick, if you will. So anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Aaron Rodgers, I hope you get vaccinated. Just kidding. I don't want you to get poisoned. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. Bear down. FU Green Bay. FUGB, FGB, whatever. Pick whatever adage you want to use and stick it to Green Bay. I appreciate you guys. This Bears team is going to be fantastic this year. We are very, very close to the start of the season. I cannot wait. I hope you're as excited as me. I'm ecstatic about the opportunity that we have right here for the Chicago Bears this year. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll talk to you very soon.